Jeremy Saland. Jeremy, good to see you again. So perhaps not a huge surprise, Don Jr. and Eric both denying having any involvement in preparing their father's financial documents. It's interesting, though, they don't necessarily dispute the valuation component of this, just sort of distancing themselves from the actual work. I mean, what do you make of this testimony for the state's case?
So they're trying to cover for themselves and trying to remove themselves. And I think what may be lost on some people, we think of Donald Trump and Trump organization, but remember, Eric, it's their future. Remember a significant one's ability to operate these. So they're really on a tight line here. They're trying to say, I know and I did certain things which I can't back out of because there's evidence, but at the same time, removing myself and use that intimately involved.
Jeremy, let me ask, the family members of Trump, the executives of the organization, how does that testimony compare in terms of the weight of that testimony compared to some of the experts that we've heard from so far?
Well, there's two different elements of every, this isn't a crime per se, but all of this offenses, and meaning that doing something and writing something or signing something is one thing, but you also have to have the knowledge and the intent. So when you're hearing from certain experts or you're hearing from different parties as to how you build that intent and that knowledge and what happened, the valuation, that's a piece of it, but you need multiple pieces of everything. Ultimately, if you believe that they took some role and you believe the valuation is incorrect and you believe that it's established they have the knowledge and intent, whether it comes through, Eric or Don Jr. or one of these other people who testified, an accountant or someone else within the company, it's building piece by piece this foundation to ultimately hold the Trump organization and the family members liable.
Jeremy, let me ask, I mean, most of us will perhaps not ever elevate to that level in corporate America of being an executive at the top of a major company like that. But help me understand, is it unusual for a top executive to say, wait a minute, I relied on our CPAs. Wait a minute, I relied on our lawyers. I mean, is that a valid case if he's sitting at the top, if they're sitting at the top, that perhaps they wouldn't be involved in the minutia of the numbers?
Within reason, it's fair, though they are fiduciaries. The problem that you have in this particular case, unlike, let's say, a significantly larger company or publicly traded company that has thousands and thousands of employees across, all over the world, this is a tight-knit family-held company. And if we believe that Donald Trump and his family keep it tight and they don't want outsiders in and they want to maintain that control, you have to believe, if you believe that, and also in this particular case, the evidence is establishing that, then you have to believe they're not ignorant of what was going on. You're not ignorant when you were the trustee or you were holding that company and being responsible like Don Jr. was, while his father was president. So the oversight is not some vague concept. They are hands-on people if you believe the testimony. So it's harder for them to avoid that liability if you believe the testimony.
Ivanka, the claims against her were dismissed because they were too old, but she may have to testify. It's not clear yet if she will. How much greater does the risk of perhaps inconsistencies in the stories if another Trump child testifies? I mean, I would imagine that their stories have to be pretty similar in order for it to be credible.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And the more people testify, one could argue is that the more they know their stuff. But at the same time, you run the greater risk when there's multiple people testifying and when people potentially are trying to cover for one another, that the lies get exposed or the misinformation comes out. Even in what we've seen so far, both Eric and Donald were Donald Jr., were confronted with signing off on certain things. They were confronted with emails. So it's hard to maintain a non-truth if you're exposed. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean they're not telling the truth. You could very easily say, this is from more than 10 years, this is from 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. I don't recall. Maybe you're correct. I certainly was involved, but not to the extent you're saying. So it can cut both ways, but inconsistencies and impeachment, that's a real concern.
Jeremy, how is it ultimately determined? The penalties here are stiff. I mean, the AG wants the family and the organization to pay $250 million to bar them from doing business in New York. I mean, how is that assessed? I mean, the judge has already determined that there was some broad level of fraud. So how is the penalty side of this assessed?
Well, I think the judge is going to try to determine what the actual value was and what the purported exaggeration was, what that damage was. So I think that's going to come into play. There's also the issue of just damage as a general concept, as opposed to, we use the term, making whole. So there's a lot of moving pieces here, but beyond the financial risk, the judge can do potentially what he's already said or tried to do, which is that preventing someone from operating a business in New York, taking that certificate back, to operate a business, precluding that work with banks and to secure loans. So the judge has wide discretion. Obviously, within the law, he can only do so much, but the law allows for a pretty large scope of remedies.
And as a reminder, I mean, there's no jury here, so this is really up to the judge. I mean, it's a bench trial, so really interesting.
Right. And you may have heard, you may recall, there were some questions asked directly by the judge, to John Jr. So this is a much more hand-on process than it would be if it was a jury.